Trump's trade war with North America is blowing up in his face, and it's creating the exact opposite of what he wanted. While the president thought he could bully Canada and Mexico into submission with crushing tariffs, he's actually pushed them into each other's arms, forming a powerful alliance that threatens to undermine his entire America First agenda. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney just completed a historic visit to Mexico City, where he and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum announced they're deepening their partnership to face down Trump's economic warfare together. This isn't just diplomatic theater, it's a strategic realignment that could reshape North American trade for decades to come. To understand why this is such a massive failure for Trump, we need to look at what his tariff strategy was supposed to accomplish. When Trump imposed his punishing 25% tariffs on Mexico and ramped up to 35% on Canada, he believed he could force both countries to bend to his will on issues like border security and drug trafficking. The president has repeatedly claimed these tariffs are necessary to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal immigration, using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to bypass normal trade agreements. But instead of capitulating, Canada and Mexico are now coordinating their response, sharing intelligence and presenting a united front that makes Trump's divide and conquer strategy look amateurish. The timing of Carney's Mexico visit couldn't be more significant. Just as public consultations began this week for the upcoming USMCA review scheduled for next year, the Canadian Prime Minister was in Mexico City shaking hands with President Sheinbaum and declaring that North America is the economic envy of the world. Carney, who took office in March after replacing Justin Trudeau, has emerged as Trump's most formidable opponent in the trade war. Unlike Trudeau, who often appeared flustered by Trump's bullying tactics,
both in terms of the U.S. administration and the economic troubles. Well, his absence was noted a great deal in Washington. When did he go for the last time to Washington, and when will the PM start seriously going to the capital city of our main partner and make it a priority, rather than talking about infrastructure that won't even be put in place until the end of Mr. Trump's term?
Carney brings decades of experience navigating international financial crises as former governor of both the Bank of Canada and Bank of England. His measured approach and deep understanding of global markets have already shifted the dynamic between Ottawa and Washington. What makes this alliance so dangerous for Trump is that it's not just about trade, it's about creating an alternative power structure in North America that doesn't revolve around Washington. During their joint news conference, Sheinbaum emphasized that Mexico and Canada will continue working together with mutual respect, while Carney declared they have full confidence in finding adjustments needed to reinforce competition and competitiveness in their region. This language is diplomatic code for we're going to work around Trump, not with him. The economic reality on the ground shows just how badly Trump's tariff strategy is backfiring. Despite all the tough talk about crushing Canada and Mexico, over 85% of Canada-US trade and 84% of Mexico-US trade remains tariff-free due to USMCA exemptions. This means Trump's tariffs are hitting a relatively small portion of trade while creating maximum political drama and economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, American consumers are paying the price, with Trump's tariffs amounting to an average tax increase of nearly $1,300 per U.S. household in 2025, making them the largest tax hike since 1993. But the real genius of the Canada-Mexico partnership is how it exposes the fundamental contradiction in Trump's approach. The president claims he wants to strengthen North American manufacturing and reduce dependence on China. Yet his tariffs on Canada and Mexico are actually making Chinese goods more competitive in the U.S. market. Economic analysis shows that by charging higher tariffs on China than on Canada and Mexico, Trump is inadvertently creating advantages for Canadian and Mexican exporters. This means his tariffs are actually pro-North America integration, just not in the America First way he intended. The political implications of this alliance extend far beyond trade policy. Both Carney and Sheinbaum have been careful to emphasize they're not competing against each other for Trump's favor, a direct rejection of the president's attempts to play them off against one another. Instead, they're presenting a coordinated front that includes shared approaches to security cooperation, energy partnerships, and economic development. This unity makes it much harder for Trump to extract concessions from either country, as any deal would need to account for their mutual commitments. Trump's frustration with this development is evident in his increasingly erratic behavior toward both countries. Beyond the tariffs, he's directed U.S. agencies to rename the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, repeatedly threatened to make Canada the 51st state, and even reportedly signed a secret executive order directing the military to attack Mexican drug cartels. These theatrical gestures reveal a president who's lost control of the narrative and is resorting to increasingly desperate measures to appear strong. The legal challenges to Trump's tariff authority are also mounting, with the Court of International Trade declaring several of his executive orders invalid as contrary to law. While these cases work their way through the courts, Canada and Mexico are using the time to solidify their partnership and prepare for what could be a prolonged trade conflict. The fact that both countries are now coordinating their legal strategies and sharing resources makes them much more formidable opponents than Trump anticipated. What's particularly striking about the Canada-Mexico alliance is how it mirrors Trump's own tactics, but with far more sophistication. Just as Trump uses economic leverage to pursue political goals, Carney and Sheinbaum are using their combined economic weight to resist American pressure, while strengthening their own positions. The difference is that their approach is based on mutual benefit rather than zero-sum thinking.
The U.S. president is a modern man. I speak with him regularly. We send each other text messages. But what's the most important right now for Canada is to diversify our trade internationally with Europe, in Asia, with Africa, and South America. Thank you.
Making it more sustainable and ultimately more effective. This collaborative framework recognizes that prosperity in North America doesn't have to come at someone else's expense. The upcoming USMCA review in 2026 now looks completely different than it did when Trump first imposed his tariffs. Instead of facing two isolated countries desperate for access to American markets, Trump will be confronting a coordinated bloc that has spent years preparing for this moment. Canada and Mexico have used the time since the tariffs were imposed to diversify their trade relationships, strengthen their domestic industries, and build alternative supply chains that reduce their dependence on the United States. The domestic political consequences for Trump are also becoming clear. His tariffs have contributed to rising inflation and economic uncertainty, while failing to achieve any of their stated policy goals. Border crossings haven't significantly decreased, fentanyl continues to flow into the United States, and both Canada and Mexico have maintained their sovereignty despite his threats. Meanwhile, American businesses are struggling with supply chain disruptions and higher costs, while consumers face higher prices on everything from energy to manufactured goods. For Carney personally, this alliance represents a masterful debut on the international stage. Taking office in the midst of a trade war with Canada's largest trading partner, he could have chosen a defensive, reactive approach. Instead, he's gone on the offensive, building partnerships, strengthening Canada's position, and turning Trump's aggression into an opportunity to reshape North American relations. His background as a central banker has given him credibility with international markets and foreign leaders that Trump's chaotic approach simply cannot match.
Mark Carney is proving up to be just another liberal. One day, maybe he might be open to it. He's been Prime Minister now for 6 months. He promised to move at unimaginable speeds, and nothing really has gotten done. His major project list is 5 projects that were all either already approved or in some cases already underway. I mean,
not LNG Canada. The investor hasn't even made a decision on that yet.
What he's done with C5 is he's given himself the power to use what's called selective enforcement. That means instead of the market deciding, instead of investors deciding, yes, this project, yes, that project, no, that project, or the market deciding, Mark Carney is going to decide when the rules apply and when they don't apply. It's very dangerous. We want to live in a country where the market decides things. He wants to live in a country where he gets to decide things. And the difference there is...
Doesn't government have to send a message?
No.
That we're open for business?
No, but you send that message by setting up the goalposts and fixing them in one spot. And what we saw with this Liberal government over 10 years, that the goalposts kept moving and back and forth and side to side. What Mark Carney is telling some businesses, some selective companies that, hey, you don't even have to try to kick the ball at all. And the difference in that is instead of pleasing the market, now companies are going to have to please politicians. Instead of letting the market decide, politicians are going to decide. That is dangerous. Every country that's ever tried has gone down that road, where politicians get to decide when the rules apply and when they don't. Leads to corruption, leads to lack of investor confidence, and it leads to companies moving out of those countries.
Even in a time of crisis, though, and I do take that point, but I know that your party has constantly cited this LNG terminal on the water in Germany as evidence of how fast things can get built. Germany essentially brought in their own C5 to override their own environmental laws in order to get that thing built, and it worked.
But why just for one company? Why not have?
This expertise allows him to speak the language of both Wall Street and Main Street, building coalitions that transcend traditional political divides. The broader implications of this Canada-Mexico partnership extend well beyond North America. Other countries facing Trump's tariff threats are watching closely to see how this alliance develops and whether it provides a model for resistance. The European Union, which has also faced Trump's trade aggression, is likely taking notes on how smaller economies can band together to resist American pressure. This could lead to a fundamental shift in global trade relationships, with countries increasingly looking to regional partnerships rather than bilateral deals with the United States. Looking ahead, the success of the Canada-Mexico alliance will depend on their ability to maintain unity in the face of continued American pressure. Trump is unlikely to simply accept this development and will probably escalate his tactics in an attempt to break their partnership. But by establishing clear principles of mutual respect and shared benefit, Carney and Sheinbaum have created a framework that can withstand external pressure while delivering concrete benefits to their citizens. The irony of Trump's trade war is that it's achieving the opposite of everything he claimed to want. Instead of making America more competitive, it's making American products more expensive. Instead of isolating America's competitors, it's isolating America. And instead of demonstrating American strength, it's revealing American weakness and the limits of economic coercion in an interconnected world. As this trade war continues to evolve, one thing is clear. Trump's strategy of divide and conquer has failed spectacularly. By pushing Canada and Mexico together, he's created a formidable alliance that's better positioned to resist American pressure and pursue their own interests. The president who promised to win so much we'd get tired of winning has instead handed his opponents their biggest victory yet. The Canada-Mexico partnership isn't just a response to Trump's tariffs. It's a blueprint for how middle powers can resist superpower bullying and emerge stronger on the other side.